Auckland is the fastest growing region in New Zealand where life just passes you by. But less than a 50-minute drive southwest of the city, the Glenbrook Vintage Railway has recreated an era when life was more leisurely. The day begins early for the Glenbrook Vintage Railway volunteer staff. A wood fire is lit in the firebox of the 1912 Mallet locomotive and is allowed to build gradually, heating the water in the boiler to raise steam pressure, a process that will take about 5 hours. The Glenbrook Vintage Railway operates over part of the old Waiuku branch line. A political promise, it was opened on the 22nd of May 1922 when the Massey government was elected to office. From the beginning, the railway never lived up to its expectations, even though Massey expressed his confidence in the viability and future profitability of the branch line. It was opened in an era when the motor lorry was making an impression in the area. Virtually every year of its operation, the line showed a loss of revenue. During the 60s, with the country's economy on a downswing, the axe finally fell on the line on the 1st of January 1968. In the early 60s, construction began of a large steel mill complex at Mission Bush. At the same time, the old Waiuku branch line was upgraded from Hairata to Glenbrook, and a new section built from Glenbrook to Mission Bush. In 1971, the Auckland-based Railway Enthusiast Society was given the option to buy or lease the old branch line from Glenbrook to Cornwall Road. The Society incorporated a charitable trust known as the Glenbrook Vintage Railway Trust Board to oversee and promote the project. Old sections of track and sleepers were replaced and buildings erected to store locos and rolling stock. In October 1977, the Glenbrook Vintage Railway was officially opened to the public and passenger trains began operating between Glenbrook Station and the Pukeowari Depot, a distance of 4 kilometres. Since the railway opened in 1977, it has been recognised as one of the leading rail preservation operations in New Zealand and attracts huge crowds during its operating season from late October to early June. The playground and barbecue area adjacent to Glenbrook Station is a great place to relax in between journeys. Locomotive preservation by railway enthusiasts in New Zealand began in a small way late in the 1950s. As steam power on the NZR came to a close in the North Island in 1967 and the South Island in 1971, enthusiasts saw a need to preserve various classes of steam locos for future generations. The Railway Enthusiast Society steamed WW480 from Greymouth to Auckland in 1969. Followed by WW644 in 1970, the first such delivery trips in New Zealand. One of the biggest undertakings was the double heading of J1236 and JA1250 from Wellington to Auckland in April 1972. Passengers experienced the golden age of steam when rail dominated the country's transport system, and comfort was a hard wooden seat in a breezy carriage. The railway is overseen by a trust board who appoint a general manager. It's staffed by 4 branches dealing with mechanical, civil engineering, operations and commercial. The mechanical branch restores and maintains all locomotives and rolling stock to the high standard required by the Land Transport Safety Authority. Passengers are invited to view the Pukeowari workshop facilities during the 10-minute stop on each return trip to Glenbrook. From these facilities, the mechanical branch completely strip, overhaul and rebuild locos and rolling stock to emerge as new as the day they were originally built. Over the years, the GVR have overhauled and restored locos from other private rail operators. Here we see the boiler from the largest loco to operate on the GVR, JA1250, having new boiler stays tapped around the firebox crown sheet area. As the completion of 1250 gets nearer, it's reunited with its frame and wheels, and a fire is lit for a boiler test. With steam pressure reaching 200 pounds per square inch, the regulator is open to clear debris through the snifters and cylinder cocks. With the steam test successful, the remaining parts of the JA will be refitted, including its cab. The steam-powered crane is another feature of the railway and is used by the civil engineering branch to maintain the track on which the trains run. Here the track gang is replacing old track with new track sets with the crane's assistance. Rail-mounted steam cranes were used by New Zealand Railways to replace bridge spans and track, and were used in pairs to right derailed wagons and locos. Once the track has been set in place by line of sight, the ballast tamper consolidates the ballast under the timber sleepers. The machine lifts the track to the required height, packs and tamps the ballast by vibration. The end result is a level and straight rail, giving a smooth ride even for the smallest rail vehicle using the line. The motor trolley or jigger is an example of a type of vehicle once numerous on the New Zealand railway system. They were used by inspection and maintenance staff to inspect tracks, bridges and tunnels. On normal operating days, trips are available from Glenbrook station to Morley Road and return. In December 1986, the line was opened a further 1.6 kilometres from Pukeowari to its present terminus at Fernley. A rare sight is a passenger train climbing the grade from Pukeowari to Shakespeare Road with 3 locos. Plans have been finalised for a further and final extension of 2 kilometres into Waiuku over part of the original formation. The line will divert to the Tamakai Reserve adjacent to the wharf from which the scow Jane Gifford departs on harbour cruises. Passengers will be able to leave the train for a harbour cruise and return by rail to Glenbrook. The operations branch is very much in the public eye. They provide the train crews and produce the timetables and operating rules for the safe running of trains over the line. The driver and fireman work as a team and each have their own responsibilities, such as filling the coal tubs for loading into the loco bunker. On the footplate, the driver is responsible for the operation of the locomotive and for the safety of the train and its passengers. His mate is the fireman, who maintains steam pressure close to the maximum by keeping a clean fire burning in the firebox. Climbing the various grades on the Glenbrook Vintage Railway keeps the fireman shoveling coal at a constant rate. Glenbrook station retains the look of a country station, with baggage trolleys holding passengers' suitcases and small goods. It's the domain of the commercial branch, who staff all the retail outlets including the well-stocked souvenir bookstore, refreshment room and ticket office. The Glenbrook Vintage Railway operates special promotions during the season, including Friends of Thomas, a chance for children to meet Sir Topham Hatt, the Fat Controller, and ride behind Thomas's New Zealand friends. C847 from the Silverstream Railway in the Hutt Valley arrived at Glenbrook in 1990 and emerged from the workshops 4 years later to become a regular engine on the railway. It's seen with another visiting loco, J1234 from Paikokariki-based Steam Incorporated. An event that brings out railway enthusiasts with their cameras is the running of an authentic goods train made up of rolling stock from a bygone era. A Glenbrook Vintage Railway train can be chartered for any occasion, whether it's a social function, wedding, celebration, whatever. Another popular event is the Country and Western Day, when the railway takes on a Wild West look with a train hold-up followed by a mock shootout. The American-built Malay looks the part as it's surrounded by the outlaws. Then it's on board the train to meet the children and hand out chocolate bars.
These are the gold bars the outlaws are after.
The Glenbrook Vintage Railway runs the Great Train Race, a 9-kilometre cross-country event, a fun run of man against machine. The train is restricted to a maximum speed of 35 kilometres per hour and has several stops to make en route, enabling the runners to catch up and overtake it.
There's another young bloke there as well, another young lady. Well done, they've done the half. Black numbers are for the half speed.
With 6 full passenger cars, the Mallee struggles on the steep grade to arrive at the finish line in second place. The Glenbrook Vintage Railway locos are not restricted to their own line, but do venture out on the main line hauling excursions. GVR number 1, climbing the grade from Newmarket to Remuera. At speed on the Karaka Bank, JA 1250 heads an excursion to Thames in 1990. C847 on a day excursion to Hamilton. Back at the GVR, 847 departs Pukeowari during a busy Friends of Thomas weekend. At Glenbrook Station, GVR number 7 moves away with C472, a rare Clementson 6-wheeler carriage built in 1879 by the Oldbury Car Company in London. The carriage has been restored to a composite arrangement. The first class section has longitudinal leather seats, while the second class has hard timber seating. GVR member Jim Hanson acquired the carriage and oversaw its restoration. Popular with children is the manually operated hand jigger. In late October 1998, the GVR's largest locomotive, JA 1250 or Diana, was returned to regular service after its major overhaul. Sit back and enjoy the journey from a line-side seat as Diana takes us from Fernley to Glenbrook. The Glenbrook Vintage Railway operates Sundays and public holidays from late October until early June, with trains departing Glenbrook station every hour on the hour from 11 until 4. The Glenbrook Vintage Railway, a working railway from the past for the future.